Hey YouTube, RicoKnows here. So it was brought to my attention that a lot of people are concerned with what player ratings are going to be in NCAA 2025. In other words, I saw a video of Travis Hunter confused that he was only rated a certain amount. He didn't realize he needed to change his awareness as a wide receiver to get an increased rating. But a lot of these players think they're going to be a certain rating in the game, and the harsh reality is you're being compared to your peers. And some of you guys aren't as great as your fan base thinks you are. Now, it's social media. Everybody's going to talk about who's the fastest player in the college and who's got the 99 acceleration. But the only way to really be accurate with these ratings is for EA Sports to hire me. That'd be number one, right? Because obviously I know every player and I know the truth. And they need to have some type of team out there assessing the players accurately. And you can't let fans dictate what the ratings are going to be. You just can't. If you don't like a player's rating, go to some mode where you can change it. But the harsh reality is your favorite player isn't a 99 in speed or acceleration. Now, if you want to know what the players are going to be rated, I would encourage you to go look at NCAA 2014. If you guys don't remember NCAA 2014, that's the last time the game was ever made. And go look at those ratings. That should give you an indicator of where players are going to rate this year. I'll give you an example. One of the top guys, the 15th best guy rated that year on NCAA 2014 was Kadeem Carey. This is a running back. He played at Arizona. He was pretty good. It wasn't amazing, but he was good. But his acceleration in the game at that time was 96. Look for a running back to be like that. I'm going to tell you right now, if you give this young man a 94 overall and a 96 in acceleration, I think it's very equivalent or very similar to running backs like Ishmael Mahdi at Texas State this year. He just rushed for over 1,300 yards. It's very similar to Ashton Genty, Marcus Carroll. They should have ratings around there. Now, if we're looking at last season's players, and if that's what it's going to depict, then you're looking at guys like, I don't know, Kamani Vidal having a good overall rating. We got to respect it. But they're not going to have that same acceleration. The acceleration guys are Bucky Irving. The acceleration guys are the smaller backs like Rasheen Ali, Jahar Jordan at Louisville. So I would expect to see some running backs. If you were the nation's leading rusher, if you were one of those guys, you should be in the low 90s or mid 90s. Another player they had, we're going to go past that, is Sammy Watkins for Clemson. He was a rating of 95 back in 2014. Okay? So when you see a receiver with 95, he better be Keon Coleman. Better be a mismatch nightmare. I'm saying metrically. We're not worried about what they turn into in the pros. This is NCAA. I don't want to hear about your pro prospect. I don't want to hear about what your potential is when you get drafted and where you're going to get drafted. None of that matters. What were you rated in NCAA 20 whatever or 2025 is based upon your college production and the metrics that we saw on the field. I'm telling you that right now. Explosive plays. Give me plays over 50 yards, over 60 yards. So when I look at receivers, I told you Keon Coleman right off rip. But you see it, Rome Dunes, Malik Neighbors, Ricky White. Ricky White better have an over 90 rating. I don't care that he plays at UNLV. That man just had over 1,480 yards receiving. He's a walking first down. But the guys that are going to be very comparable are some of those larger guys, Brian Thomas Jr., right? Guys that can beat you over the top. That's what Sammy Watkins was back in the old game. Another guy in the old game was Taj Boyd. He was a quarterback for Clemson. Ended up losing his starting position, if I remember correctly. Taj Boyd lost his starting position to, is this right? I think I got it right. To Trevor Lawrence? Or was that somebody else? That might have been somebody else. But Taj Boyd was 95 in the game. Who am I thinking of? I'm sorry, I got distracted by Kim over here. She's cooking. The point I'm trying to make is if you're a starting quarterback at one of the major universities, you should have a rating pretty high. If that's just the way it goes. Taylor Llewellyn was a 96. Aaron Murray was a 96. So you might think, oh, well, he's just an average quarterback. The game was rewarding people for being stat monsters. Production. Aaron Murray was one of the more productive quarterbacks in Georgia history. Jake Matthews, offensive tackle at Texas A&M back then, he was a 96. Teddy Bridgewater, Teddy Two Gloves. Teddy Bridgewater was a 96, and he was a baller at Louisville. Loved everything about Teddy Bridgewater at Louisville back in the day, and he was a 96. So you might be surprised who gets in the 90s on these ratings if they were giving them out like candy like this back in the day. Braxton Miller was a 96 at quarterback, not wide receiver. This is before he moved to wide receiver. Braxton Miller was a 96. There's going to be some guys ranked, and you're going to be like, what the hell is going on? And he only had 91 in his accuracy back in the game. C.J. Mosley, linebacker from Alabama, was a 97. Okay. Marquez Lee, there you go, 97. Marquez Lee, don't tell me Branch isn't just as good. Don't tell me Luther Burden isn't just as good as Marquez Lee. Marquez Lee was great. He was a draft pick to the Jacksonville Jaguars later. But we're talking about a young man who was a stud at USC. I think Luther Burden III is a 97, 98, 99 overall. In comparison, very similar build, very similar everything. We're talking about guys that were getting ratings of 95 in catch, 93 in catch in traffic, and I believe he had a spectacular catch rating of 90. So Marquez Lee was one of those wide receivers you got to talk about. A.J. McCarron was a national championship quarterback, and he got a 97 overall. I would give Carson Beck a rating like this, right? And while a lot of people, let me hold that thought. Let me go back to number 3. The third highest rated player in 2014 in the video game was DeAnthony Thomas, and he was a 97 overall. And what that really comes down to is fandom. It comes down to highlight tapes, because nothing DeAnthony Thomas did on the field at Oregon warranted him being the third highest rated player in college football. There's just no way. He was fun to watch. He was cool. Black Mamba, blah, blah, blah. He was doing all these things. He was cool. Not the third best player in college football. Not even close. But the fans will try to gas you on, well, you know, he was this fast and he was this great and all this. No, he wasn't. He was okay. He was okay. A little guy with great acceleration. There's one of those on every single team. It doesn't move me like that. But he was the third highest guy. This is why guys like Travis Hunter are going to be ranked really high. Because you can be on a terrible team and still be highly ranked. Highly rated, I should say. I believe Travis Hunter's speed should be somewhere in the 80s. I don't think he should be anywhere in the 90s. His top-end speed is somewhere around 4.5. He's got great twitch, great fast twitch, great awareness on defense, a good zone coverage corner. But his matchups in man are absolutely terrible. I've showed it on film many times. Go watch all the videos on Colorado. And I believe that he doesn't excel as a corner. He's no Champ Bailey. Okay? He's no Charles Woodson. Nope. But he's a great player because he has great instincts. Just does not have that top-end speed. And when you don't have that top-end speed, you don't get rated high in the video game. It's just impossible. Unless you're lying about his speed, and then you're going to see him have to actually run an official 40, which he's never done, and you will see that it's a lot slower than you anticipate. I've watched Travis play in person. I've seen the top-end speed. I'm calibrated to see it. Johnny Manziel was a 97 in the game back in 2014. I hope Matthew Sluka's in the 90s. They better give him some love. Shout out to Johnny Manziel for being 97. Back then, he couldn't be stopped. I would imagine Jackson Dart's going to be in this range. Carson Beck. A lot of the elite quarterbacks are going to get this type of rating. But if you ask me, Riley Leonard should be somewhere in the low 90s. Some of these people should be rated. But the number one player for rating in that game back in 2014 was Jadeveon Clowney at 99. So 99 for Jadeveon Clowney. All this was based off of 5 stars as a recruit. None of this was based off of what he was doing on the field. They let recruiting websites dictate the rating. Fandom and recruiting websites, not production on the field. They weren't getting it right. I'm sorry. That's the reality of the situation. So I'm going to keep it real. Last thing I'll say about this video game video. I'm not playing the game, y'all. I work for a living. I'm an adult. I'm not buying the game. I'm not playing the game. I don't play video games. I'm not excited like that. It doesn't move me. Congratulations to everybody out there who's going to buy it and play it. I'm going to do something more productive with my life. And I'm not doing it. So your friends don't know, but Rico knows. Peace.